What's up, YouTube? D&Do commentary. We have Team Smogon versus NC's Best. I think NC's Best is my friend Jay Quick. I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, he opened with Trap Tricks, Murmillo, and then he got he didn't get Bottomless. He got Trap Tricks, Nightmare. I think he got that because he wanted to be able to set up without fear of Exiton Knight. So Bottomless Trap Hole obviously wouldn't stop Exiton Knights, and a card like Trap Hole would. So you see NC, or you see Smogon summons Geargia Arsenal, and that gets Bottomless. Okay, well, okay, maybe he got Trap Tricks Trap Hole because he already had Bottomless Trap Hole. I mean, that could be the reason, but if he got Trap Tricks, if he got Nightmare, even if he didn't have Bottomless, I still would have considered it a good play. All right, so you see Team Smogon has Arsenal on board. He's going to activate its effect. Now, I'm going to guess that this is a Fire or Ice hand. I've seen NC's Best play a little bit. I know that he runs pretty much like a control-based deck, and it looks like he's using when a monster... Yep, okay, yeah, you can destroy it. Now, he kind of played into that. I guess he didn't realize the monster does not have to be face up. I'm calling this Ice Hand or Fire Hand. I told you. I fucking knew it was Ice Hand or Fire Hand. Alright, and Black Horn of Heaven is gone, and he's going to get a Fire Hand. And this duel looks like it could be a rout. He summons it in defense mode, I guess maybe because he was expecting a potential Geargia gear into 101, possibly. But, I mean, it wouldn't have really mattered that much. You see on the end phase, he uses Call of the Haunted. I mean, the better way is to summon this guy in defense mode. Like, there's basically no negative, because you can just put it in attack mode later. You see that he summons an Ice Hand, and it looks like he's going to get in for 3,000. And honestly, I played against these cards. Like, they don't hurt Mermill that much. But for decks like Geargia and Bujin, that, I mean, for the most part, they rely on battle to take things down. It is a serious problem because I don't like making Abyss Dweller. I hate using that card. There was a 2-month stretch where I didn't even run Abyss Dweller because 99% of the time I'd much rather make Susanoo. You see Team Smogon is pretty much on the ropes, and he goes down because Ice Hand and Fire Hand just got in 3,000 each turn. You're not going to beat that, especially when NC's Best doesn't have to summon anything. Even if he would have used you know, Mare Force or whatever, Ice Hand was going to trigger. Fire Hand wouldn't have, but it wouldn't have mattered because he had so many 1-for-1s, and he was just simplifying the game way too much. And I'm not gonna lie, if he can keep getting off those trap trick nightmares, it's gonna be a problem for Team Smogon. The fact that you can use it on Geargia armor when he attempts to go face down, it's a problem because Geargia armor activates from Arsenal, or he's special summoned from Arsenal, like he's doing right now. And then he is summoned in attack mode, or excuse me, defense mode. And then he tries to flip face down. But when he does that, his effect is negated, and then he is destroyed. All right, so it looks like Team Smogon is getting set up. He has the turn 1 armor. He's probably going to set 4 in his back row. That's what Geargia generally does. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to say he probably has a Geargia gear and a mistake. NC's Best is just setting up his back row. Now, if he has something like Fire or Ice Hand, that could be a problem because if he just sets a card, I guess you could assume it's one of those. But, I mean, do you want to make a Abyss Dweller to negate it, or do you want to potentially, like, what do you want to do? Like, how do you plan on getting rid of it? I actually agree with this attacking because let's say he has Nightmare face down. You're going to lose your armor anyway, so it's like, why not just get in for the 1,700? He plays Max C to get a 1-for-1. And that's good because you're never really going to get more than a 1-for-1 out of Geargia. Armor goes face down. And Smogon sets up another card. We can already say that he probably does not have Wiretap. If he doesn't have Wiretap because he definitely would have used it on the warning. You see NC's Best just sets a card in his back row. And I like the way that he's playing right now. He's just getting one. He's just 1-for-1ing everything. You see... He takes a neg 1 here on Fiendish Chain, but he gets a 1-for-1 with MST. I mean, it's a neg 1 that you have to take. You don't get rid of the armor, but you understand that if your opponent gets the armor off, that can potentially open up the floodgates. So you're gonna see. I'm thinking he's just gonna reset Geargia armor, and he goes into what's it called? He goes into Accelerator, and NC's Best flips over Mind Crush. And I thought maybe he was going to activate it on Geargia Geargia arsenal, but I mean, obviously, if your opponent throws down the accelerator, you're gonna call it on accelerator now, because if you don't, you could potentially get OTK'd. Now the armor does go back on field. It should actually be in attack mode unless he's gonna reflip it down, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was a torrential. I would not be surprised if this was a torrential. It kind of makes sense. So you see Team Smogon attacks. This has to be an ice or fire hand. It just has to be. He activates Macro Cosmos, which gets MST. Man, that was the perfect card to have. And maybe we might see a debunk here or something like that. All right, so Gears in the Arsenal to attack this face-down card. And he's asking Team Smogon for a response. He gets his ice hand off, so he's going to get at least a +1 from that. And let's see. What are you going to target? He targets the face-down. It's Black Horn of Heaven. He can't activate it. This is during the damage step. And he summons Fire Hand, which Team Smogon obviously will not want to attack. Why would you? You're just going to lose one of your monsters. He summoned it in defense mode wisely because he doesn't want it to get 101s. And you see that Team Smogon is just probably going to be content with doubling up for Geargia armor. And I mean, it makes the most sense. You know, obviously Fire Hand can't get over it. And he has 2 face downs. So card advantage is actually fairly close. And NC's Best has done a very good job, in my opinion, fighting back from what seemed like an incredibly good opening hand. You see that he summons Thunder King Ryo, which would have been excellent. He falls in the warning, but then he activates Soul Charge and gets both monsters back. Now we're playing 4-on-3, but he could turn this into 3-on-3. He does not go into Exceed, which I completely agree with, because your opponent has 2 armors. Neither one of them can activate as long as Ryo is on board. And then on top of that, if they Exceed, you obviously negate. And then you have way too much stuff on board for your opponent. So NC's Best is playing his ass off right here. I mean, I've got to commend him. He goes for Call of the Haunted, which gets him Geargia Arsenal. And I'm thinking maybe he's going to flip. He's going to flip summon and try and beef Ryo up to or try and beef Arsenal up. You know, make his attack like, 2100 or some shit, and then try and attack over Ryo. So you see, he summons Geargiano. And what happens with Geargiano? He's going to tribute that for a level 4 machine. I know he has an accelerator in Graveyard because it got Mind Crushed. So I'm thinking he's going to go for accelerator. Oh, Vanity's Emptiness. Very nice counter. So he gets a +1 there. Now again, all Team Smogon has to do is, flip everybody into attack mode. Now, none of these guys are going to get effects, so he is slowed down there, but he can attack over Ryo, because this guy will have, 2100 attack. Because it counts for itself, so that's 17, then 19, and then 21. Now, he's looking at his extra deck. I'm not sure what he's thinking about. We've established this as an armor. You just flip everything and you run into Ryo. Or I guess he's thinking about what he's going to make main phase 2. Now, this is a card in Vanity's Emptiness that I actually run in the main deck. I don't keep it in against Geargia. I don't like it in that matchup. I think that there's way more value in Black Horn of Heaven. Because, think about it, when they summon Mortal Kombat 2, they're going to Exceed anyway. I mean, rarely ever do they just, get another monster and just pass. Like, okay, sometimes they get armor and then just put it face down. But for the most part, they Exceed with them. Usually I side Bear because I have Tinky, obviously. I side Dark Hole because it hits armor turn 1. I side deck in 3 copies of Black Horn. And then I'll usually side in, fairy boxes and shit like that for Macro, D-Fissure. If the Geargia player sides Light Imprisoning Mirror against me. Alright, so what is Team Smogon going to do? And I think I've played against Team Smogon. I have not played against NC's Best. And he's still looking in his extra deck. I think what he's looking at is he's looking at the potential of getting of making Gear Giant X, but then if Fire Hand crashes into Gear Giant X, you're gonna lose it, and Ice Hand can crash into that too. He can still get monsters because he'd be able to blow up Call of the Haunted. He'd still be able to summon monsters and then counter it with like a 101 or something like that. So maybe he's trying to think one step ahead of his opponent. It'd be nice if he would, I guess, speed the process up a little. getting back on my DN recording games. Sometimes I get really good games, but they run either too long, or there are these like large awkward pauses in the middle of games where I'm just like, I don't want to upload this shit because, you know, for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, there's like nothing going on right now. I'm actually just coming off an incredibly epic game. I am kicking myself for not recording it. It was probably one of the most hype games you've ever seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! I was down like -5 and I came back and won the entire game. So yeah, Team Smogon, if you would make a move, that would be awesome. So he's looking, and I know that name comes from Pokemon. I don't know if Smogon is like the people who run the competitive Pokemon TCG or something like that, like if they're like the Konami for Pokemon or something like that. I thought Pokemon was run by like Wizards of the Coast or some shit. Like, I know Wizards does Magic, right? Maybe Smogon. I mean, how many card companies are there out there? There's Konami, there's Upper Deck, there's Wizards of the Coast, and I guess that's it. Like, I don't know anybody else. So Team Smogon is, again, I mean, when people sit here for this long, I usually put them on the clock. I'm like, make a fucking move. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not that complicated. You know what I mean? So Team Smogon is continuing to think. And yeah, judge time. And I'm like, I mean, come on. I mean, what the fuck else do you need to really think about? I mean, you can't exceed, otherwise Ryo would just activate. I mean, I don't really know what's going on here. I mean, even if that's not another face-down monster or another face-down Geargia, which I could have swore that was another armor, you could just crash with Ryo and then put this guy face down. I'm about to go to the chat. And now as I go into the chat, he actually decides to make his play. Okay, so you see he clashes with Ryo. Arsenal dies. Now in main phase 2, he flips over Geargia armor. Now he has to be careful here because he could potentially get Exciton Knighted. I mean, because he has 3 cards and he would have 4 if he activates this effect. His opponent only has 2. He'd be drawing the 3. So that Call to Haunted could end up costing him or it could end up putting him in a position where he could get Exciton Knighted. I mean, Exciton Knight is a very real card, and you always have to be concerned about the number of cards you have on board. That's one of the things I always try and do. I always try and count how many cards I have with my opponent. Like, I never feel completely safe with Blue Jeans unless I have either Valor in hand or Carnation or / Soul Charge in hand. Then I don't care. You can Exciton Knight the field all you want because I know I have my comeback cards. So Team Smogon once again goes into think mode because Yu-Gi-Oh! Apparently it takes that long to think about, which it fucking doesn't. He summons Gear Giant X into defense mode, I guess because he doesn't want it to get 101'd. And then he puts armor face down after putting MK2 in his hand. Again, I think the best option here is to go into what's it called? Is to go into Exciton Knight, torch the field. Yes, your opponent will have MK2, but I still find that to be the better play, unless you drew something like a Soul Charge or whatever. Actually, if you do a Soul Charge, I would Soul Charge, or excuse me, I'd Exciton Knight the field, then Soul Charge. He drew Wolfberg, but what does he have as a target? Did he play? What the hell? Yeah, I'm like, what are you gonna potentially make? You know what I mean? Oh, he goes Giant Hand. Oh, okay, I kind of see what he did there. Giant Hand attacks Gear Giant X. Fire Hand attacks. Okay. Wait, I guess Fire Hand attacked Gear Giant X, and then what's it called? Giant Hand attacks the Geargia armor, which is going to activate. Now, I think this play was very counterproductive because this can get attacked over very easily, especially if his opponent activates this and gets anything from his graveyard, he can just use Accelerator. He can go into an Exceed. He can make Gear Giant X. He can attack this, and then he can simply use Gear Giant X's effect in main phase 2. I don't understand that play at all. Maybe, yeah. What the fuck does hand do against Gear Giant X? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, really, I don't like that play at all. I think that he just threw the game away, and I'm not quite sure why he did that. So Smogon activates his effect, and I guess when the play is just completely obvious, it doesn't take him forever. He gets Accelerator. I mean, now you just special summon Accelerator, you go into Gear Giant X, you attack this motherfucker, and you really just, for the most part, don't care about this. I mean, I'm pretty sure he can dump a Dweller on board as well in the same turn. I mean, yeah, you just attack this, then you make Dweller in main phase 2, and if your opponent happens to try and crash, you just activate Dweller. If they top deck another level 4, then fuck it, you have to live with that, and they go for 101. It's always interesting in Yu-Gi-Oh to see if decks will leave monsters in attack mode unprotected, because 101 is one of those cards where you always have to be aware of its existence. Like, I really don't, because, you know, I have Turtle and shit, but most people do, and that's one of the reasons why I play Bujins. Like, you don't have to care about shit that other decks do. Like, I don't have to care about Bear because I've got Turtle and Hair. I don't have to care about Dracosap because Susanoo can clear an entire board. You know what I mean? So, a lot of the little things Bujins just clean up. Okay, so yeah, he attacks over Giant Hand, and Giant Hand dies. Main phase 2, I would get a level 4, and then I'd probably get Accelerator back. I'd summon, if you have another level 4, I'd try and make Dweller. If not, I would go for a rank excuse me, I'd probably go for a rank 3, like either Zen Mains or Giga Brilliant, because let's say your opponent clashes with Gear Giant X and then pops it, you're going to take a lot of damage, because Gear Giant X is going to be 2600 attack if you get Giga Brilliant, and then you get Ice Hand. Okay, well, you're going to take some damage from that too. Alright, so we got Geargia armor. And you know what, that makes a lot of sense. He sets 1, Geargia armor. Now, I assume if he has a way to get to 101, or excuse me, a way to get to Exiton Knight, he will obviously use it. If he doesn't, he should just scoop it up. Don't waste 10 minutes of our time for you to think some play that's not going to work. I mean, right now, the only way you can win this game, it's 101 or bust. So if you don't have a level 4 in your hand, you know, just scoop it up. Your opponent's going to go +1 with this. They're going to go +1 with this too. You know, even if you have Torrential, it won't matter, because it's not going to stop this guy from activating. It doesn't break the chain. Like, the only way to beat Geargia is to break the chain. If you just stall the chain, you're not going to win. You know, like, you need shit like Skill Drain or Blackhorns, cards that just completely, you know, it takes the train off of the rails. That is the way that you beat Geargia. You cannot beat them by simply stalling them out like that, because the deck will inherently make way too much advantage because of Geargia armor and because Gear Giant X. These cards are +1s for days. He says only a Fire Hand would miss timing. I don't know what he's talking about that. So Fire Hand's going to attack. It's going to take... He ends up blowing up armor. Okay. And I'm thinking maybe he's just going to summon Ice Hand in defense. He's asking if he has a debunk. I mean, he doesn't really need to. The armor that just died, he can essentially replace with another armor using its effect. So he doesn't actually need to rush into an armor. If that is a face down of any importance and you can activate it, I would advise you do. Make him blow up the Call of the Haunted to get that effect. You see that Team Smogon activates Gear Giant X. He gets Accelerator. He summons MK2. I'm thinking he's going to go for Alicord. He gets Georgiano. He's going to Exceed. And I'm reading Alicord here. If not Alicord, actually no, not Alicord. Go Silver Mountain. Okay, well he goes Alicord, whatever. Alicord falls into Blackhorn. It wouldn't have mattered if he would have made Silver Mountain. That should have fell into Blackhorn too. He's looking at his opponent's graveyard. I guess he's trying to count how many hands he has in there. Face down is destroyed. It is Blackhorn. And he summons Ice Hand, or excuse me, Fire Hand in defense. Sets another card. NT's best. I mean, I'll give him this. He is dragging this game out as long as possible. He attacks Gear Giant X. It's going to take 700. He pops Gear Giant X. Unfortunately, he gets another monster from Gear Giant X. Now, if he can get the Ice Hand attack through, he should be able to at least come with an even. The one problem I do see him having is he still has this monster on board. So you see he attacks it. Ooh, he fell into Compulse, and he didn't normal summon though, but I guess he wanted to get that off board. So you see he sets both monsters, or excuse me, both cards. The Ice Hand, which still will trigger, because it'll pop that. You see he activates its effect. And he has what? He has an Accelerator in hand. He gets the Accelerator on field. If I'm Team Smogon, I'm just going to make, I'm just going to go for a Gear Giant X. Or I don't know what Ice Hand's defense is off the top of my head. I just would have attacked with, attacked Ice Hand with Accelerator. Like, you have enough life points to where it doesn't really matter what your opponent throws at you. You're perfectly fine. You know what I mean? NC's best has to be more cautious because, you know, he could potentially lose to a Cowboy if he has, yeah, you know what? Well, I guess he might be concerned with his back row. I mean, he could go for Cowboy, but if that shit gets Black Horn of Heaven, I mean, he could end up losing the game, which would be an incredible, it'd be an incredible turn of events. So Team Smogon is going to do what now? Let's see what he's going to do. He summons Accelerator. Special summons Accelerator, I should say. And I would have to think he's going in Cowboy. 600 life points. Falls in the bottomless trap hole. So it doesn't matter if it would have been Cowboy or not. Let's see. NC's best has Ice Hand. And if he has something like Pot of Dichotomy or, well, Soul Charge is no good. Pot of Dichotomy would help a lot. I gotta read what this guy does. If you control face-up spells, this card cannot be targeted by attacks. It can attack directly. Oh, okay, so he was going to try and attack directly with that guy. Flips over Ice Hand and attacks for 14. And this Ice Hand cannot potentially come back and win this game. It just can't. I'm thinking maybe NC's best set a Fiendish Chain or something. And you see that Team Smogon sets 2. NC's best probably going to put this guy in defense mode. He activates Tenki. Wow, that's right. He does play Wolfberg, so he can go Tenki Bear. And that's what I'm thinking he's going to do. I mean, he has protection from Torrential Tribute. He goes Tenki Gorilla. Gorilla pops. What is the face down? And Team Smogon scoops it up. I can't believe that.